What a blessing it is for me to be here with each and every one of you. This is consecrated space in terms of an institution that has been going for 61 marvelous years. Let's first give it up for this grand institution. ISNA. I know we don't have too much time, but I do want to say this very, very clearly. That I stand in front of you tonight, one who has lived for 71 years in the midst of the American empire, experiencing increasing levels of spiritual decay and moral decadence. It's an empire, it's the 68th empire in the history of the species, the only empire that understands itself to be innocent. So when it commits violence, it acts as if it does not exist. It acts as if it can absolve itself of responsibility, answerability, and responsibility. It was true indigenous peoples with the genocide here in this land. It was true the enslavement with my own African peoples. It's been true for workers subjugated by greedy bosses. Every empire shows a sign of spiritual decay and moral decadence when it is thoroughly indifferent to the plight of the vulnerable, and genocide is the ultimate litmus test. If you deny genocide, you are spiritually decayed. If you enable genocide, you are morally decadent. And this is not demagoguery. This is not name-calling or finger-pointing. This is true for every empire that experienced military outreach. And America has 800 military units around the world, 130 special operations in over 100 countries, with 62 cents for every $1 going to the military, trillions of dollars on war. But when it comes to poor people, working people here, mass incarceration, wealth inequality, poverty, and yes, the direct connection between our precious Palestinian brothers and sisters, ongoing and indescribable genocide and ethnic cleansing and apartheid-like treatment. And when we look not just at our politicians, who can hardly say a mumbling word, who think somehow saying ceasefire is some great breakthrough. This is not a political issue. This is not a matter of electoral strategy. It's a matter of morality. It's a matter of spirituality. It's a matter of staying in contact with the precious humanity of a slice of our species who are Palestinians. Every empire wrestling with spiritual decay and moral decadence also has levels of organized greed. 1% of the population own 90% of the wealth. 3 individuals have wealth equivalent to 50% of the whole population. My God, what a time to be alive. And how then do we transmit and bequeath the best of our traditions to our young people? And then here comes the Islamic Society of North America. That we have a depth of spirituality that says that a Palestinian baby has the same value as any other baby in the world, no matter what color, no matter what gender. It can be an Ethiopian baby, it can be a Guatemalan baby, it can be a black baby, a white baby, a Iranian baby, an Iraqi baby. Somewhere I read in the history of the great prophetic tradition of Islam, and I learned it from Malcolm X, I learned it from Muhammad Ali. I learned it from the brothers and sisters on the chocolate side of town, even though I'm a Christian coming out of Shiloh Baptist Church and the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer. I had some Islamic brothers and sisters who were with me in the foxholes then. then, and I'm with them in the foxholes now. And it's not a question of skin pigmentation, it's a question of soul formation and moral cultivation. And any of us who still have the audacity to believe in a God who is beneficent and merciful and great and grand knows that we have to look at our country, our nation state, through the eyes of that legacy. And it means then even the new immigrants, you all have to be very, very careful that you do not become seduced by the intoxications of middle-class living. You've got to make sure you don't become drunk with the mind of American prosperity. There's something called a vocation, not just a profession. You have a calling, not just a career. That's true for every one of us. But let us never, ever reduce our deep commitment to God with some allegiance to a flag or a nation state. There's nothing wrong with loving aspects of America, but the American nation state must never become an idol. There is but one God, and that God always sets the standard, and that God has to do with a love and a truth and a justice and a courage that God cannot use cowards. Be not afraid, says the Hebrew scripture. Be not afraid, says Quran. Be not afraid, says the Christian New Testament in Koine Greek. That's what we need now more than anything else. We need a spiritual renaissance, a moral renaissance, so that we cultivate our character. We have integrity and honesty and decency and courage, but also with a humility so we learn from one another. But in the end, we have to be willing to pay a major cost for our faith. There's no talk about faith without a cost. Costly faith, not cheap faith. And deep, deep courage and compassion to keep alive a flickering candle in the darkness of the levels of mendacity, the lies, the criminality, the crimes. In Gaza, absolutely the litmus test, but connected to what's going on in Sudan and Congo, what's going on in South Dallas, what's going on East Los Angeles, what's going on where I live in Harlem. So it is for each and every one of us that have to try to meet this test. And you see, I come from a great black people, a blues people who have a sense of sophistication and soul ain't nothing but the sharing of a soothing sweetness against the backdrop of catastrophe. So each and every one of us have to do it with our own style, with a smile in our heart, with deep, deep joy, not that cheap joviality that people talk about, that deep joy that works through suffering and comes out on the other side with a gift from a God that sustains us. Yes, indeed. Gaza, fundamental focus, but opening each and every one of us to more integrity, more honesty, more courage, and more style and smile. God bless you.